Good evening. Welcome. We have a lot of people here this evening. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Fayette County Board of Education for November 25th, 2019 for 6 p.m. Hold on just a second. Yes, will you go ahead and call roll call?
Mr. Raymond Daniels.
Present.
Mr. Darrell Love.
Present.
Ms. Christy Morris.
Present.
Mr. Tyler Murphy.
Present.
Ms. Stephanie Spires.
Present. I would like to take a moment and first of all welcome our newest board member, Ms. Morris.
Thank you.
Ms. Morris was able to be sworn in a couple weeks ago at one of our special called meetings, and we have gotten to know her a little bit. All five of us attended school board training this weekend in Louisville, and I believe she had her first orientation.
Yes, that's
We
correct.
do a in-house orientation to familiarize you with everything you need to know about Fayette County schools over a series of a few weeks, and she had that today. And so we're very excited that you're here and that you're a part of the team. So.
Thank you so much.
And then I also want to take a moment and welcome our guest honorary board members for this month. Each month we have 3 honorary board members, a student, a classified staff, and a teacher representative, and we encourage them to engage in our activities that month and engage in the dialogue. The first person I want to introduce is not here tonight because she is our student representative and she had other student commitments, but I still want to introduce her because she did serve in this role and was at our last meeting, and that is Kennedy Gayhart from Paul Lawrence Dunbar. Kennedy is a senior at Paul Lawrence Dunbar. She is the editor-in-chief of the school media program, PLD Lamplighter. She leads a team of peers to produce the weekly school broadcast, WPLD. Last year, she spoke at a conference in Columbus, Ohio about the power of student voice and was named, along with her classmates and teacher, Ms. Wendy Turner, a hero of education by national education advocate Diane Ravitch. She was selected as one of the 12 students to attend WKU's exposure camp in the summer, where she fell in love with the campus and program. She plans to attend Western to study broadcasting next fall. She spends her time outside of school bowling for PLD's bowling team, coaching upward cheerleading, and serving at her church. And we are sad that she is not here tonight, but we appreciate all that she does for our schools. And so our Juanetta Taylor is the cafeteria manager, and she's our classified staff representative this month. She is the cafeteria manager at STEAM Academy and Opportunity Middle College. This is her second year with Fayette County Schools. She spent 27 years with White Castle Incorporated. She's a graduate of Bryan Station High School and received her Bachelor's of Science degree from Eastern Kentucky University and minored in Spanish and athletic training. She's also a member of the School Nutrition Association and Zeta Phi Beta sorority. She's engaged and the proud godparent to Lanisha Owens. And we welcome you. And thank you. And I know we really appreciated some of your insight at the last meeting on when we talked about the wellness report card and nutrition, and it was great to have you chime in there, and feel free to chime in tonight as well. And Dr. Craig Schroeder from Henry Clay High School is our teacher representative. Dr. Schroeder is currently a STEM teacher at Henry Clay High School, where he instructs both physics and robotics in the engineering pathway. He has been with the district for 12 years, previously teaching at Jesse Clark and Beaumont Middle. Currently, he leads the robotics club at Henry Clay. He is a graduate of Centre College, where he earned his Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Physics and completed his Master's at the University of Kentucky. In 2014, Craig was named an Outstanding STEM alumnus for the University of Kentucky. He is the founder and the director of the Sea Blue Camp. He is the only K-12 member of the board of directors for the School Science and Mathematics Association. Outside of school, you can find him on the soccer fields because he is the director of operations for Commonwealth Soccer Club, or with his wife Margaret and their 4 children. Alexis is 8 and Carter is 6, and they attend Maxwell Elementary. Riley is 3 and Maddox is 1. And we want to welcome Dr. Schroeder. Thank you.
Yeah.
And at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Love for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance and the reading of our mission statement.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The mission of Fayette County Public Schools. Our mission is to create a collaborative community that ensures all students achieve at high levels and graduate prepared to excel in a global society.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask the board for approval of the agenda for this evening. If anyone would like to make a motion to approve, I do not know of any changes that need to be made.
I move for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Mr. Murphy has made the motion to approve tonight's agenda. Mr. Love has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And if you see us chuckling a little tonight, we did take a Robert's Rules of Order training together a couple weeks ago, and so we are being hyper vigilant and exaggerating some of our emotions and stuff, just to show that we learned and listened in our meeting. So we like to begin each performance, or each school board meeting, with a performance to feature our talented students and high quality arts instruction. Tonight we welcome the Leestown Middle School Orchestra, directed by Nathan Wilson. This program has grown from 36 students to over 175 musicians across 3 grades. These ensembles have consistently earned distinguished ratings at the KMEA Large Ensemble Assessments and superior ratings at the Music in the Parks festivals, and have received KMEA's Program of Excellence Gold Level Award each year since 2009. Tonight, the orchestra will perform Primula, Joy to the Spring by Yukiko Nishimura, and Mystical Towers by Jeremy Walstahelm. These Leestown students would like to thank their families for their support. Please join the board in welcoming them to the stage.
Yes, yes.
If we have any parents, friends, family members, and supporters of our young musicians, we ask that you would stand at this time so that we can recognize you and thank you for supporting your musician.
Yes.
And at this time, I'd like to ask my colleagues to meet me out front. I'm gonna need a little caffeine. All right, we have a lot of awards tonight. So first up, middle school volleyball champions. Top-seeded Jesse Clark won both volleyball championships in the district's 2019 middle school tournaments. During the fall's regular season, the A team finished with 9-1 record, and the B team went undefeated. These players are coached by Carolyn Ricks and Evan Ford. Please join the board in congratulating both volleyball teams for an outstanding season, and we ask our athletes to come on forward. Very good. Just take two, ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. If we have any family members, friends, cheering section for these young athletes, we ask that you stand at this time so we can thank you for supporting your student athletes. All right. KHSAA State Soccer Champions, senior Caden Rose sent a corner kick into the net for the lead, and Henry Clay eventually notched the win as the 2019 Boys State Soccer Championship. Taj Jarum The goal in the closing minutes helped the Blue Devils secure the 2-0 victory over Davis County for the third state title in Kentucky High School Athletic Association tournament. In addition, Henry Clay's Jason Beeler was named 2019 Coach of the Year for the Kentucky High School Soccer Coaches Association. And Henry Clay's assistant coaches include Tyler Campbell, Garrison Headley, David Ritchie, and Xavion Tellis. Please join the board in acknowledging these boys' soccer team on a great season, and come on up so we can.
And a point of personal privilege, if it pleases the chair, we're going to put some respect on these young men's names. This is the Henry Clay, Kentucky High School Athletic Association Boys Soccer Champions, number 19 in the country, only gave up 12 goals, all right? And where's Ethan at? Where's Ethan? He's not here? Ethan is a bad man. You guys are awesome. Three state finalists, right? At all state. Fantastic. So come on up, you guys. Welcome. Great job. Great job. Love seeing you play. Love seeing you play. Hard determination. That's what it looks like. Great job. Great job. Great job. Ethan is fast.
have the front row maybe take a knee? Front row. On the knee, like that. All right. Everybody? Okay. Okay. Y'all are too wide. Everybody in. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
And if we have any family, friends, cheerleaders, supporters of these talented athletes, if you all could stand and be recognized for supporting your student athlete. KMEA Marching Band State Champions. Lafayette's High School's Pride of the Bluegrass has made it 3 in a row, winning another Class 5A Marching Band State Championship. Top scores for their performance titled Seeking Refuge brought Lafayette's total to 21 championships. Accepting our congratulations tonight are drum majors Shannon James, Grace Hude, Jenna Fagazi, and Phoenix Schwartz Ward, along with band director Chuck Smith. Please join the board in saluting the Lafayette Marching Band. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. And just so you know, this is 2 decades of excellence. 2 decades of excellence.
You're good. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Great job.
If we have any family, friends, and supporters of the Lafayette High School Marching Band, if you all could stand to be recognized for your support. The Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. The Science Lab teacher at Cassidy Elementary, Christy Fair, has received a Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. This is the country's highest recognition for a K-12 teacher in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and/or computer science. The honor comes with a citation signed by President Trump, a $10,000 award from the National Science Foundation, a trip to Washington, D.C. for recognition in professional learning, and membership in an active network of outstanding educators. Christy is in her 25th year of teaching. She has been a K-5 Science Lab instructor since 2006, including the last 5 years at Cassidy. Previously, she taught at Liberty and Southern Elementaries. Please join the board in recognizing Christy on this latest achievement.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
If we have any family or friends or coworkers of Christy here this evening, if you all could stand and be recognized for your support of her. Kentucky World Language Association Awards. 2 of our teachers received state-level awards during the 2019 Kentucky World Language Association's conference this fall. Francisco Costello is an immersion social studies teacher at Bryan Station Middle School and Kentucky's Spanish Teacher of the Year. This honor is from the American Association of Teachers of Spanish and Portuguese. Francisco is in his 6th year at Bryan Station Middle. He came to us from Granada, Spain, as part of the Spanish Visiting Teachers Program. Yan Wang, who teaches Chinese at Dixie Magnet Elementary School, is the state's Early Language Learning Teacher of the Year. This award comes from the National Network for Early Language Learning. In addition, Yan is one of 2 national recipients of the 2019 Chinese Teacher Award. This honor from the Chinese Language Association's secondary elementary schools was announced this past weekend in Washington, D.C. during the annual convention and World Languages Expo sponsored by the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages. She was born in Northeast China, and she has taught Chinese language and culture at Dixie since 2007, including teaching 2 of my children, and she also taught 2 years at Ace Elementary. Please join the board in applauding Francisco and Yan for their outstanding efforts.
One, two, three. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. My children like to talk to me in Mandarin sometimes because they know I don't understand what they're saying, thanks to Ms. Wang. Kentucky Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance Awards. The Kentucky Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance saluted 2 Fayette teachers during its fall conference. Lydia Austin of Brenda Cowan Elementary is the state's 2019 Dance Teacher of the Year, and Mary Jo Geddes of Tates Creek High School is the Health Education Teacher of the Year. This is Lydia's first year in Fayette County Public Schools, and she's teaching dance and PE at Brenda Cowan. She also teaches dance for the Department of Kinesiology and Health Promotion at the University of Kentucky's College of Education. Mary Jo is marking her 17th year in the district, all at Tates Creek High School. Please join the board in congratulating them both. Come on.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
One, two, three. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. And if we have any family members and friends of these 2 educators, as well as our 2 previous winners, I forgot to mention for you all to stand. I'd love to have you all stand and so we can recognize you for supporting your educators and your family, because we know it takes a lot of sacrifice from you as well. Don't be shy. We see some of you like, no, I'm not going to stand. We see you. And that is all we have of these right now. So we can go sit back down. We do not have any 212 degrees recipients this evening, and we also do not have any proclamations this evening. So at this time, I will turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we begin the superintendent's report tonight, I'd like to personally welcome our teacher and classified representatives this evening, Craig and Juanetta. You represent important voices here at the table, and we encourage you to share your thoughts and observations so the action taken here can be the very best they possibly can be. Now, I also want to add, once again, my own congratulations to the students, employees we honored this evening, in addition to the school leaders who came out to support our teachers. Principal Kirby from Bryan Station Middle School was here, also Principal Williams from Brenda Cowan, as well as Principal Mills from Tates Creek High School. In addition to our student championship recognition for volleyball, soccer, and marching band, I want to take a moment to underscore the amazing talent of our staff. Now, research has shown that an effective teacher is the most important factor contributing to student success. Tonight, we honor Fayette County Public Schools teachers for being named one of the best science teachers in the nation, the best dance teacher in the state, the best health education teacher in the state, the best Spanish teacher in the state, and the best early language learning teacher in the state. Now that's it. So you can clap for that. Now that certainly is pretty tremendous, but it's not unusual for educators to be honored in this way. When I say Fayette County Public Schools offers quality education you can't buy, it's a reflection of the commitment and the talent of our more than 8,000 employees who dedicate themselves to making a difference in the lives of our students each and every day. This evening, we're going to forego the superintendent's report, and we're going to move to the equity report. Where's Miranda and Rose? And Vita.
Good evening.
Good evening.
At this time, I would like to take an opportunity to say that we're going to highlight what is happening at the Promise Academy in William Wells Brown. Many different academic opportunities are being offered to our students, including enrichment ones. And I want to highlight the one regarding the Code Command coding class. Let's take a video to FAMU first then.
Every school in Fayette County has a gifted recommendation committee.
We're going to show you a school report card, and it
All right, that was the Family University that was held on November the 9th at Henry Clay High School. There were 216 family members in attendance, and 6 languages were represented, and over 40 volunteers that included Henry Clay High School's ROTC. Also, the sessions that were offered ranged from early childhood learning to college and career readiness. Students were able to participate in activities on the STEM bus and attend learning opportunities provided by Locust Trace. There were also so many staff that supported the FAMU, ranging from First 5 Lecks, college and career coaches, to student support services and assessment literacy. It was a great day, and we thank everyone for their support on that day.
Do we have the video? Can we play it?
Every school in Fayette County has a gifted recommendation committee.
we're going to show you a school report card, and it will help to explain and look at this a little bit different.
So after visiting, it was so friendly and everything, I felt like this could really be a place where I could fit. So I chose to go to Berea College.
So this is a number that you get back at the end of FAFSA. that essentially tells you exactly how much a student and family should be able to pay for their student's education.
I think the number one thing you can do for your kids is model the behavior that you want them to have.
Generation Y, you guys will be running things in about 20, 30 years, right?
They've already taken the ACT or practice ACT. Don't stress about it. Don't overwhelm themselves right now their freshman year because they still have opportunities.
But this is called the Play and Learn Science app. This is a completely free app from PBS Kids.
We're using the same language when they come home and the same language that they're using in the classroom.
But nudes are just something that has individual reports.
It was amazing.
Insightful.
Informative.
Astonishing.
Excellent, I will say.
Enthusiastic.
Inclusive.
Cool.
Fun.
Perfect.
Any questions about Family University? So I want to go back to highlight about the Promise Academy, the enrichment program. It was the Code Command Coding class. And this is an enrichment opportunity that has been provided by two community partners, Obie Taylor and Leif Taylor. And during this class, as you can see there, it has serviced 73 students from 3rd to 5th grade. And they met for 24 sessions, 4 days a week for 6 weeks. And each session was 45 minutes. Throughout this course, students were taught about focus, responsibility, and problem-solving skills while learning about the opportunities available in a career related to computer coding. Students became commanders as they learned the basics of computer coding. They also were rewarded for their focus, effort, and responsibility. At the end of the 6 weeks program, students participated in a competition. They worked in teams of 2 in order to progress through as many levels as they could while earning all 3 stars. At the end of the competition, the winning teams earned awards, and prizes were awarded for the top 3 teams in the competition. And I know that Manny and some of you were able to visit the coding class. I visited, and it was amazing. The level of enrichment, collaboration opportunities, and problem-solving skills, it was evident. And if you want to like to highlight that?
Definitely, Ms. Santiago, and I think that when you sit back and, you know, I had a conversation today, and I told a person is that a student is more than a sum of their score. And when you look at our students who enter kindergarten at William Wells Brown, our Promise Academy, you're talking about 75% of those students are not ready for kindergarten. Yet, at the same time, because of the actions taken by the board, this past year, we've been able to offer them extended learning to be able to include not only coding, but world language. Not only world language, but gifted and talented. Not only gifted and talented services, but science as well. And it's these opportunities where students are able to problem solve, able to work with others to solve problems, to think collaboratively and work collaboratively, for students to be able to think critically. And so these are the skills that we are cultivating and nurturing at William Wells Brown. It is a Promise Academy, and I invite those who have watched this school for years with the same data, 177 days, same school year calendar, stand by the wayside, took no action. But we've taken action. We will continue to take action because each child, we will make sure that we fulfill their unlimited potential. And we're starting that at our Promise Academy, so thank you.
Thank you.
You know, Manny, I just want to echo what you just stated around the importance of programs like this in those particular schools. I had an opportunity to go by that morning because they had 2 sessions that they awarded certificates and also prizes too.
And iPads.
Right, and iPads. I mean, it was great. But one of the things when one of the kids walked in, and I introduced myself and I said, your name is, and he said, and this is my partner right here. And he says, and we have worked together. And I said, well, are you guys going to win? And he said, I think we stand a pretty good chance. And they were the top winners. But it was one of those things around for students who may think that I really can't do math, but they're coding and they're thinking about these critical skills, the teamwork. You saw individuals celebrating each other in this whole process. And I think that's the culture that you really want to change around excellence and you know, you can do it. And if you are struggling a little bit, I'm there to help you. And just that positive reinforcement. So I think programs like this and having people from the community that kind of come in and bring a different lens to it really does help increase what we call that richness of the learning experience.
Exactly. And I do want to underscore and thank State Representative Brown for giving up his time to come out and support. And it was important for our students to see coders, engineers who look like them.
Right.
Very much important for them to see that. And so, thank you, team.
And then our Linking Youth to a Nurturing Community Forum, our community partner leadership team, CPLT, knows that many community members, parents, grandparents, mentors, youth workers work tirelessly on behalf of our youth, and CPLT wants to support them as much as possible. The purpose of Link Forum is to ensure equal distribution of information and resources throughout the whole community. The first forum was held in May and focused on summer wellness for our youth. In November, we held our second forum. Our presenting partners, Rainey Minikin of Fayette County Public Schools and John Brodus of New Vista, shared how to best support our youth mental health. Participants also had a chance to connect with others in the community who support children and youth, as well as attend the resource fair, connecting them with additional supports. Nearly 100 community members attended this event. Future forums will include topics such as substance abuse, including vaping, peer relationships, dating, bullying, social media, online safety, cyberbullying, and LGBTQ support. So this is an ongoing mission and project, but Link is working to ensure that our youth have healthy youth workers that can help them with their needs.
Fantastic, because these are the issues that our children are struggling with today. And we're there to provide that support with our community partners. So, all right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask our Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Myron Thompson, to come forward and present the monthly construction progress report, and then followed by our 10-point comprehensive safety investment plan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
There is a snapshot of our STEAM and Success Academy project, and still slated for October of next year. A rendering of the facility, and we're very excited. If you've been by the job site, you can see there's a lot going on both outside and inside. Work for last month, we've continued the building demolition in the interior, and it's nearly complete. It was nearly complete last month. Completed the foundation excavations in Area B and continued in Areas A and C. We've started pouring new slab and trenched areas. We've completed plumbing under slab rough ends at Area B and continued that in Area A and C, and began the geothermal well drilling. This month, we've continued site and building demo. We've continued under slab rough ends at Area B. We've begun foundations in Areas A and C, as well as structural steel in Area B, with Areas A and C to follow. Our metal stud framing is starting to go up in Area B, and we've continued our geothermal well drilling. And a few snapshots of the project.
Wow.
So we're going to transform that facility. For the Bryan Station High School softball field house, a snapshot of our partners and budget. We plan to have that revised and done in February of next year. Our underslab rough ends have been complete. Our slab has been poured. Our CMU walls are in the process, as well as our door frames have been set. We've completed the walls this month of November. We prepared our trusses to be installed and our mastic damp-proof exterior walls, and began our brickwork. And a few snapshots of that project as well. And again, this will be the basis for our girls' softball facilities going forward. And our secure vestibule projects. There's a snapshot of our architectural partners as well as our general contractor. Again, that work will take place for the next year at 28 of our locations. We are pretty much almost complete at Bryan Station. We're roughly 95% done with that project. Our construction has started at Booker T. Washington and Crawford. We've held pre-construction meetings at Northern, the Professional Learning Center at Lindley, and Winburn Middle School, and that's to start in December. And we're holding pre-construction meetings in December for the Learning Center and Dixie Elementary. So we are working our way down that list of 28 schools. For Bryan Station High School, the drywall finishing and painting is complete. New aluminum storefront framing and doors are installed. Framing for the secure vestibule pass-through has been installed. Our desktop and shelf pass-through window is forthcoming. We've had a split system for the heating and cooling. We've had to set up a separate zone there for them outside of the vestibule, and it is operational. In Booker T, we've had some demo work. We've started some metal stud framing, and we've still revising our shop drawings there as well. And a few pictures of that work.
All right.
That concludes my construction report.
All right. I'm going to ask you to stay up front and let's walk through our 10-point comprehensive safety investment plan. And I do want to remind everyone that when we started this work in 2018, children were very clear in Fayette County. There were 3 areas that they did not feel safe. They didn't feel safe at school. You see the work and action that we have taken here at Fayette County Public Schools as a result. Children do not feel safe in their neighborhoods, and they said they didn't feel safe at their home. And those are still the 2 areas that have yet to be addressed by this community in a substantive way.
Absolutely. So again, our plan, 10 points. I'll cover the first 5. We have implemented staff and student IDs at our middle and high schools. We have implemented our Crisis Go emergency communication system. 36 schools have had their training, and every principal has been touched, but again, we're rolling that out typically at staff meetings. So those take place on Tuesdays for the most part, so it takes a little time to get there for that. But we plan to roll that out throughout this year. We have door alarms on all of our exterior facilities. Again, something that you're not going to see in schools, not only throughout this state, but throughout this country. So I think we've been very forward thinking in that regard. Door access points have been implemented at all of our facilities. All schools now have cameras. We've upgraded our infrastructure in terms of DVR technology. And in terms of the secure vestibules that we touched on, we've again had pre-construction meetings. We've covered most of this in the previous presentation, but you see we are moving forward in earnest with those 28 projects, and we'll have a completion date of December of 2020 for those. So our metal detectors and security ambassadors have been implemented at 5 high schools, and the 6th high school will coincide with the secure vestibule project. Turn it over to Chief.
All right. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening. We are holding steady at 60 officers total. We've got 3 officers that graduate next week from DOCJT's Academy, so they'll come back and be implemented into the FTO process. We've got 2 more that will graduate in March, and we are currently doing interviews for the 5 remaining slots, or 5 slots that we have authorized at this point. So we're excited about those, and we're excited to see these 3 graduate next week. An item of note, as you can see, the student body was asked to vote on influential people in the building. And of course, there's a lot of great staff members at Dunbar. We all know that. But one of the persons chosen was Officer Pedrochi, Myron Pedrochi. And so he was honored with that. And as a result of that, an art class painted this mural. And so they are actually putting it, if you know Dunbar, at the top of Stairwell 2, which is the main thoroughfare. So really a big honor for him, and really proud of him and the impact he's had with the students and the relationships he's built with those students. So we're really thankful for him and what he does for us.
It's all in the first name.
It's all in the first name. Yes, that's so true. So true. I can't believe I left that off the slide. All right.
All right, where's Dee Dee?
Hello.
Hello, partner.
I am Dee Dee Massey here in place of Miss Rainey Minikin, and there will be 50 new district mental health specialists hired and in place January 8th.
You see that?
Yes.
And you know where they're missing? In the neighborhoods, in the communities.
Yes.
Right? You don't have the mental health support there, so we need to come together and build up these neighborhoods. Continue, partner.
And then the next slide is it the SEL clicker? Sorry. Yes, okay, so the SEL adoption program will begin next semester. So the training for schools will begin next semester. All of the school principals have been given the information for elementary, middle, and high, and it's going before SBDM councils to be adopted. So once the SBDM council adopts the program that they would like to use, then the training for that program will begin. And so therefore the rollout can begin as soon as January or February within the schools, the particular programs that we voted on to use here at the board meeting.
All right. Thank you, partner.
I expect that next month we will be able to bring you a contract with the University of Kentucky to begin the second, what's the word I'm looking for? The second model. As for those of you who are new to the board, we have a wonderful model in our partnership with Health First of the Bluegrass. They provide a comprehensive health clinic at several of our schools, and that clinic includes dental, physical health, and mental health supports. That model is only sustainable at schools that have a high percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And so we recognize that we want to also have the comprehensive adolescent health and mental health supports at our schools that don't have a high percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And so we've been working with the University of Kentucky to come up with a model that will fit in those scenarios. And so we expect to have that contract I was hoping to have it today, but we'll be looking for it any day now. It's already been through their legal team, then our legal team will take a look at it. And of course, we do have the social media monitoring, and we're in the process of evaluating the past year, and we'll bring you a contract in January if we decide to move forward with them or with a different company.
All right.
Is Darrell here?
No. Thanksgiving vacation. So we'll conclude it here. That's just educator training that's on the agenda. Obviously touched on that with the Equity Council presentation. So that's just
Here
more
is the
training.
save the date, March
Yes.
21st, 2020. Mark that on your calendars. That will be our next FAMU. And this will be a partnership with the
Urban
League of Lexington-Fayette County. It is in partnership with their LIFT conference. And since we have brought these two really awesome opportunities together, we've more than doubled the number of families that we've reached. We've been able to dramatically increase the number of scholarships given out. And so we're really appreciative to the Urban League for that partnership.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, partner. And with that, I'll turn,
Manny,
please.
before we go on to another subject, I just want to commend you and as well as the rest of the team in Fayette County for the work they've done in this area. We were at Kentucky School Board Association training, and as we were talking about certain topics around school safety, school climate, et cetera, many folks have commented around the work that we're doing in the district and being really envious to be able to have the dollars to make those types of investments for our students. But then they're also looking at the best practices around some of the ways that we have implemented some of the things that we're doing. But along this area of the mental health professionals is just, I mean, the point that you made earlier is just, that's something that most people are saying there is just so critical in value because a lot of students are going through moments of emotional crisis, and being able to have an individual they can talk to and those types of things, as well as the secure, vestibules. And we looked at about the police officers and that we have in our schools. And I think it's interesting because most people look around the country and they're seeing some of the incidents that happen regarding having just people that you just hire off the street. versus people that are trained in your culture. So when you have an officer that's recognized, as a person of influence within the school, I think it says something about the relationship. So I think, again, we always say, are we there yet? Not quite, but we are well on our way. But I want to just kind of thank you all for continuing to drive that work forward.
And I appreciate it. And it just reminds me of the quote from a student at Dunbar that said, "We are hardening the building and softening the school." And that's very much an appropriate quote.
And I echo Board Member Love's sentiments, because I was actually thinking the exact same thing, because I had some of the same conversations at KSBA this weekend, especially when, Chief, we're talking about our in-house security, and other schools are looking at that as a model, because it's not just law enforcement. As we see in the Dunbar example, these officers are building relationships in their schools. They're part of the school community. And for a lot of our colleagues around the state, that's a concept they're still figuring out. And so I commend the work of this team.
Yeah. Thank you, Board Member Murphy. And with that, I turn the meeting back over to you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you. So this is the part of our meeting for public comment for items that are on the agenda. And we have 4 individuals signed up to speak tonight. And I'm going to read this real quick and then a point of clarification. So there are 2 opportunities for I'm just going to read the whole thing. Members of the public may address the board during the period set aside at the board without submitting an item for the agenda. No action shall be taken during the portion of the meeting on issues raised by employees or the public unless deemed an emergency by the board. Please note, speakers will not be allowed to make any disparaging or critical remarks about individuals or employees of the district. Critical comments or complaints are processed through the district's complaint procedures, which afford the individuals to whom comments and complaints are directed the opportunity for response in due process. There are 2 opportunities for the public to address the board. At the beginning of the meeting, the public who have signed up prior to the meeting are invited to speak on items that are on the agenda. This is not intended to be a time for debate. However, the board will take the public's input into consideration when making the final decision of this evening. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. At the end of the meeting, members of the public who have signed up prior to the meeting are invited to address the board on any topic of district-related concern that is not on the official agenda for the meeting, Policy 1.45. Please know that since these items are not on tonight's agenda, our board may or may not comment. It is important to know that this is not intended to be a time where issues will be debated. The chair will determine the amount of time for each speaker, depending upon the lateness of the hour and the number of the speakers. So 2 of the individuals that have signed up to speak on listed equity update, but actually they listed an item that is not on the agenda. So 2 of you I'm actually going to move to the end of the meeting, and that is McCarthy McCormick, I think, I can't quite read the writing, and Gretchen Vaught. But I'm still going to give you both the 5 minutes that you would have had, so for 10 minutes total at the end of the meeting. But since your item is not actually on the agenda, I'm moving you to the end of the meeting. So at this time, Pastor Owens, I believe you're coming up here to talk about the RFP 6819 regarding school pictures. So if you can come up here and talk about your item.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, 5 minutes?
Yes, at this point you have 5 minutes. Thank you. And it is to be about the items on the agenda.
And Madam Chair, do you mind to say that number again, the RFP number?
It is on page 32.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joseph L. Owens. I live at 1205 Hickory Creek Circle, and I'm here as the co-president of the BUILD organization. There are nearly 100 of us here tonight. To Superintendent Calk, Chairperson Spires, board members Murphy, Love, Daniel, and Morse. On behalf of the BUILD organization, I'd like to comment on agenda item J1 regarding student pictures. Student pictures are a wonderful opportunity to make historic memories. for just a moment to freeze our little ones in a moment of time. Pictures also allow us to share those frozen moments with our family members in the hopes that these pictures will bring about an opportunity to share light, joy, and legacy. But a child cannot get their picture taken if they're not in school on picture day. And while we cannot control sickness and those things that keep children from being there when pictures are taken, many of our children are being kicked out of school simply for acting like kids. And our African American boys and girls are over 3 times likely to get suspended out of school more than our white boys and girls. And this is unacceptable, and we cannot speak of equity without addressing this problem. And I'm here today with these mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers, aunts and uncles, and children of this district. And we turn out tonight not as adversaries of this board, not as adversaries of the superintendent, but as allies of our children. And we turn out tonight because we're tired of being ignored. We've done our homework, we've done our research, we've talked to student teachers, principals, PBIS coaches, board members, administrators of Fayette County Public Schools, and we've talked to other school districts around the country. And we have reached out to the superintendent since January to share our research, but also to hear his perspective on what we're talking about, and we have been met with silence. We reached out in January, February, March, April, and May, silence. We've come to public meetings of the school board, just like this one, and the superintendent responded to other comments but ignored ours. We coordinated a visit with schools in Jefferson County on October the 30th that has implemented the Safer, Sane School model of restorative practices that have been studied and been proven to deal with these problems. And though the board chair and former board Nash also attended the meeting, our superintendent did not respond until after the meeting was already started. As a district, we cannot say that we care about the problem if we're not willing to look at proven solutions. Again, we're not here as adversaries, but as allies. BUILD represents over 10,000 constituents in Fayette County. These are our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews in these schools, and we ask that you meet with us. We're not going to go away, and we're not going to stand by while our children are thrown away. These are our kids, and they belong in school.
So point of clarification, Pastor Owens, I think what you were discussing is very important, and as you stated, you feel ignored, but I have engaged in the process. Realistically, I did not stop your comments, but this was something that should have been placed at the end of the agenda because it does not reference the actual RFP that we are getting ready to vote on, which is what you selected as your agenda item. So a point of clarification, I just want to make that known because in the past I have stopped people, but I do think what you were saying is important. So.
Thank you.
Does anybody have? At this time, I would like to ask Reverend Knoll to come up and speak about agenda item J5. However, if your item is about build and not about item J5, we need to hold to the end of the meeting where I will still allow you the 5 minutes.
Good evening, Superintendent Kalk. And
Good evening.
Chairwoman Spires, board members Murphy, Daniels, Morris, and Love. On behalf of the BUILD organization, I will comment on the agenda item, J5,
Thank you.
professional leave by district personnel. BUILD's encouraged by the proposal to send district personnel to training to, quote, learn how to transform school climate and how to raise student performance and trust. We've been calling attention to school climate and culture in our district for the past several months and the need for training in that regard. It is great that you are sending staff to an ASCD training, but it's far from enough. What we need is a robust implementation of whole school restorative practices and training in that, especially the Safer, Saner Schools model throughout the district. The Safer, Saner Schools model has been studied and proven to improve school climate and culture. If we truly care about school climate and culture, shouldn't we want training in the gold standard? Don't our children deserve the very best? When we learned about the rising suspensions in our district and the fact that black children were over 3 times as likely to be kicked out of school than white children, we took a closer look at the problem. We saw that this has been going on in our district for as far back as we can see. It's unjust that our black children are not getting the same opportunities in our schools as white children. And it is unjust that children are being kicked out of school for acting like children. We need training. We learned that these discipline practices affect the entire school, not just the kids who are disciplined. We learned that it affects children's social, emotional, and mental health. These discipline practices can have negative effects on children that follow them for the rest of their lives. We won't sit idly by while children are thrown away, so we looked for a solution, and we found one that has been tested and proven, the Safer, Saner Schools model of whole school restorative practices. Training in that is what we recommend. So when we tried to contact the superintendent about this solution, he continued to ignore his own constituents as represented by the largest, broadest based community organization in this city. Meanwhile, children are suffering. Our children are suffering. So Superintendent Kolk, it's beyond time that you set up the meeting to begin the conversation about this kind of training. These are our children, our grandchildren, nieces, nephews, cousins in our schools. We will not be ignored. Our children's lives are at stake, and we will continue to fight for our children because children belong in school.
Thank you. Do you want to say it?
No, I'll respond at the end.
Okay. At this time, I would like to ask for, moving through my 3 things up here, approval of routine matters. So I am going to entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the October 14th and the October 2019, October 14th to 2019 planning meeting and the October 28, 2019 regular meeting. And if there's no reason to separate these, I'm going to ask for these together at the same time.
Madam Chair, I submit a motion to approve the planning and regular meeting from October 14th, 28th.
All right, to plan both the,
Sorry about that.
Both
I got a microphone for a reason, right?
both the planning and the regular.
Both the planning and the regular, yeah.
Correct. All right, so Mr. Daniels has made a motion to approve the minutes of October 14th, 2019 and October 28th, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Love. Is there any further discussion or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And now we will move on for approval of consent items. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent items as listed.
Second.
A motion has been made by Mr. Love, a second by Mr. Daniels. Any further discussion on consent items? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, so first, now we will move on to our approval of the action items for this evening. A motion is in order to accept a policy change to policy 1.11, And this is a KSBA. We discussed this at our regular meeting.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the policy update.
I'll second.
So there is a motion by Mr. Murphy, a second by Ms. Morris. We didn't really give Ms. Chatfield time to talk since we discussed our last meeting. Is there
Oh,
anything
I'm
you wanna-
sorry.
No, I mean, we just, because we did do it. I didn't know she
Okay.
was walking up until she walked up.
I just came up in case you had any questions. I know that we covered it during the planning meeting, so.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve adjustment to supplemental club sports play. We also discussed this at our planning meeting, if you need to come up and add anything.
Just to follow up with the seed I planted at the planning meeting, as I discussed with you guys with Mr. Sayer, with the addition to a lot of club sports that are taking place at both our middle school and high schools, I wanted to make sure that we adjusted the pay so that we could make sure there was both equity and equal pay amongst the club sports at all of those middle and high schools. And so you'll see on page 11 and 12, I highlighted that in red, which is the current discretionary payment line, and then, of course, I added in the proposed middle and proposed high school club sport pay in blue, so that you can see we're just trying to bring that pay up and make sure that it is, it's equal,
Mr.
if you
McMillan, for
will.
the viewing public, can you just give us a brief recap from our previous
Yeah,
meeting?
yes, ma'am.
The best you can, because some people may be in the dark on this one.
Absolutely. So one of the things that my office has found as we've looked at pay, we've looked at the Title IX obligations of the district, we saw that with the addition of club sports that are now popping up, specifically like lacrosse, we've had some inquiries about club sport, boys or men's volleyball. We wanted to make sure, since those were not Kentucky High School Athletic Association certified sports, that we were at least addressing the need for that pay. Currently, on the supplemental salary schedule for both middle and high schools, the only line that would allow for that pay is discretionary, with the maximum of being $800, which obviously, if you've been a coach that's for 3 months, $800 is not a whole lot of money for the time and commitment that's put in. So in trying to be fair and equitable with the current sports, again, on page 11 and 12, we've added in or proposed to add in a middle school club sport line, with the A band being 3150, the B 2363, C 1575, and then the D at 788. And then, of course, if you look at page 12, the high school section, again, we've aligned that with the high school supplemental salary schedule for athletics. Calling it club sport leaves it open in case some schools want to add in a men's volleyball or something else was to come on. It allows the principals the opportunity to have that sort of discretionary line where they can work with their councils on the pay scale. So it's just trying to bring that up to speed with where we are.
And I will say, too, Mr. McMillan and I have discussed this. This is truly, too, an equity issue, because in a lot of schools, some of these positions are supplemented by boosters clubs, and some schools have more luck in raising funds through boosters than other schools. So if we can kind of bring our district supplemental salary in line to be more competitive and even across schools, that's going to significantly help these schools make more of these opportunities available to more of our children in Fayette County.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Are there any other questions for staff at this time? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve the adjustment to supplement club sports pay.
I'll make a motion to supplemental pay for the club sports.
Motion by Mrs. Morris.
Second.
Second by Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. The next item on our agenda this evening is a contract with Freedom Tours for a trip to Washington, D.C. And just as a point of clarification and reference, since we do have a new board member, when this is just coming before us because it is over the amount of contracts. This is a pretty typical contract for our DC and Chicago trips. They just come before us. as individuals. So is there any other questions for staff at this time? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion is in order to approve a contract with Freedom Tours.
I make a motion to approve the contract with Freedom Tours.
A motion by Mr. Daniels,
Second.
second by Mr. Love. Is there any further question or discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. A motion is in order to approve the 2019-20 NWEA contract for MAP testing. Is there any question?
Yes, so I'm going to ask our Chief Academic Officer to come forward, and our Associate Director for Assessment Literacy, where's Sherry here this evening? Okay. Oh, okay, under the weather.
Yes, sir.
So I'll let you speak to the motion.
So NWEA is the host site for our measures of academic progress. That is our test that we use as our universal screener, and it can be given up to 3 times a year. We are purchasing it for kindergarten through 8th grade.
And just one question. The
Yes.
price doesn't fluctuate depending on how many times you
Correct.
test, right? It's just for the license?
Correct.
For one student. Okay, thank you.
How do they give such a ridiculous discount? How does that work?
Could you say?
The discount, how do they give such a ridiculous discount? The discount here is pretty incredible. How did we get
We
that?
have worked closely for many years with this company and have a
Partnership, relationship.
strong relationship and partnership. And our superintendent also has a good partnership as well as, several of the staff members here at Fayette County Public Schools and school principals. It goes pretty deep in the district.
Yes.
We appreciate all discounts that you all can get us.
All right.
All right, is there any additional question for staff? If not, a motion is in order to approve the 2019-20 NWEA contract for MAP testing.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the 2019-2020 NWEA contract for MAP testing.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Love, a second by Mr. Murphy. Is there any further discussion on this item? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And at this time, we will have the financial reports.
Yes, so we have our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. John White, and Director of Finance, Rodney Jackson, to come forward for this presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The general fund review for the month of October 2009 reflects the following. Our fund balance is $127 million, as indicated by the blue arrow. Revenue is $238 million, and expenses $111 million. This is a deeper dig into it, a comparison to 2020 fiscal year versus 2019 fiscal year. As you can see, the fund balance today is $127 million versus last year, same time it's $123 million. This is a summary of all funds combined, which reflects revenue of $354 million, total expenditures $154 million, net balance of $200 million is indicated by the black arrow. All funds, Fund 1 through Fund 7,000, which is trust funds, is a summary comparison, and it shows the same $200 million with the red arrow. The October 2020 fiscal year revenue is $238 million versus 2018, $207 million. This is a $31 million difference. When you take out the beginning balance comparatively to both years, it was $167 million this year versus $155 million last year. Expenses for the same time frame, 2020 versus 2019, it's $111 million versus $84 million. The biggest difference in this time frame, from year to year is based on $4 million in salaries and fringes, then also about $5 million related to regular vendor things. The biggest jump is related to the timing of fund transfers and expenditures related to construction and renovation projects that we have going on at this time. So we'll start to level out over the years. Over the months. The general fund reflects assets $135.7 million versus liabilities $8.4 million. This shows our financial position to be very sound. The trust funds are presented as follows. Any other questions or concerns?
I just want to take a moment, and Ms. Morris and I sat in a training on dollars and cents in your dashboard and finances when we were in Louisville this weekend, and your name was referenced, Mr. Jackson, several times. And your team was referenced, the financial team here in Fayette County, because it was really stated that we have a team that has figured out how to use is just fiscally sound. Your support, we have a plan in place that supports our blueprint for success, that supports our strategic plan, that invests in our students. We are competitive in that the other counties around us are jealous. They cannot meet what we pay our teachers and our staff. They talked about the mental health professionals and how we have been able to do that safety component. And so I really just want to pass that down to you all, that you all were talked about in a very nice way, a little jealous from some others, but, and I think that we up here really appreciate the things that you do, because it's really important to us, and we are very proud to have a staff that really supports our students and puts our students first.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
So at this time, do we have any additional questions about the financial statement? If not, a motion is in order to approve the financial reports.
I move to accept the independent audit report, not the audit report, but the financial report, Fayette County Public Schools for the fiscal year, not the audit report, I'm sorry.
We're not doing the audit.
We're not doing a monthly financial report. I apologize.
Page 87.
Page 87.
It's flipped, but it's because he flipped on us.
We did.
Flipped on us.
He flipped. So a motion has been made by Mr. Daniels.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Morris. Is there any further discussion on the monthly financial statements? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And now we will move on to the audit report on page 85.
Thank you. So now I'm going to present the audit report. As I told you back in August, when I gave you the unaudited financials, at this time you will see what actually the final numbers came out to be. And pretty much the numbers came exactly where we thought they would be, with the preliminary projections. We put some things in place when John came on board, working with the auditors. This is Gina Jones from Strothman & Company, by the way, related to that, and it made things a whole lot easier to get things done in a more efficient and effective way. You have 3 audit reports that we have every year. It's the district-wide audit report, the school activity funds, which is everything that happens in the schools, and our federal grants audit reports, which is all of our Title I, Title II, special ed, and so forth grants. The audit engagement consists of a letter and written agreement that starts at the beginning of every year. SCASDA, or the State Committee of School District Audits, approve those. And we have the audit contract sent into KDE to be signed annually by May 28th. The audit is performed July 1st through November 15th. That's a long time. But yes, as we are a very big district, it's a lot of dollars to go through and a lot of paper to be turned. The audit is due November 15th annually. Our goal in our department is to basically minimize the risk of a substandard audit. We assist the auditor to perform a quality audit. We protect the revenues and expenditures of the district so that all students have access to resources to be college and career ready. We also review the proposed adjustments, if any, and management comments and create responses and ask questions. We prepare the financial statements and the management discussion analysis, facilitate an exit conference, and we submit the AFR and balance sheet, which is inside of our accounting system, and the audit to KDE by November 15th. This has been done, and we also posted on our website at FCPS.net, and that's also been done. And we verified that the audit report was submitted by the auditors on November 15th. That has also been done. The audit committee plays a big role in this. The auditors presented the fiscal year 2019 audit report on November 11th at the prior to the planning meeting. It was in detail to the audit committee and a summary to the board on that date. Understanding the audit, to break it down some, the independent audit report, there's management discussion and analysis called the MD&A. There are the basic financial statements of government-wide financial statements, the fund financial statements, and notes to the financial statements. And RSI require other supplementary information. And we have notes to the financial statements, the RSI, which includes budget comparison information, combining balance sheet, and the A133 single audit of grants. Other required supplementary information could include scheduled findings and question costs, if any, management comments and responses current and prior year. Understand the audit report, fair representation, reasonable assurance and materiality. Again, the goal is for financial statements to be free of misstatements, significant enough to matter to a user or adversely affect the user's decision making. Here are the audit highlights. We received an unmodified clean, which is the highest opinion possible. No material weaknesses, internal control, no material noncompliance, no defaults on bond indebtedness, timely submission of all required reports to the state, KDE, IRS, and the Kentucky Revenue Cabinet. We increased our net position by $2.1 million. Total cash on hand was $106 million from all funds. We also had an unmodified clean opinion on the grants audit. This is very important, so when our grant pre-award staff write for grants, this has a lot to do whether we get federal grants or not. Our governmental current total assets, $138 million, total liabilities, $41 million. Our fund balance increase does benefit the bond rating and Myron's group related to improved credit, lower interest, and our overall facilities plan. Our own behalf increased from $124 million by $2.6 million to $126.6 million. Stephanie, I appreciate your comments you made earlier, and I want you to know, as we say all the time, it's not I, it's truly we. We work, people have some staff with me today. Becky Riley, Associate Director of Accounting and Tax. She does all our accounts payable and treasury management. She balances our $600+ million bank account. Tiffany Davis handles all school activity funds. All the revenue comes into the district. Byron Costner handles all the benefits for 7,000 employees. Jill Garrett and Anthony Davis, our municipal accounting support. Kim Stevens, our payroll accounting manager. I talked to Kim, and she was actually in our department. I named departmental awards this week, and she was our administrator of the year. When you're in academics and you scoring 80% or higher, that's great on tests. If your paycheck is only right 80% of the time, that's a problem. Kim makes sure that our paychecks stay on target and are good over 90% of the time, and I really appreciate that. Our grant accounting and finance office team, John White, administrative services team and family, financial accounting and benefits services family, the accountant and audit committee team, and our internal and external auditors. It's our job to serve, and we're glad to serve. Are there any questions or concerns?
At this time, does any of the board members have questions for the staff? And just so the audience knows as well, we did also discuss this at our planning meeting a couple of weeks ago. So board members were offered the opportunity to ask questions at that time as well, and as several did.
So I know we referred to KSBA and some of the comments that we've heard, best practices that we heard around this, and of course audit came up around as one of the topic areas. And so I did share, that we have an external type of audit committee that's made of external type of stakeholders plus our internal to help with those best practices. So as our auditor, as you can see that, how has that really helped shape the process, you think, in terms of just the way we think about it and we go about our overall audit?
And you're asking about the audit committee? Well, I think with having people that are outside and are in the finance area and understand the financial statements, it's a better process for us because we're explaining the audit and the financial numbers to people that understand them. Sometimes when you have just internal people, it's not necessarily as good of a mix. But I think it's always good to have that group that can look at it in more detail and then bring it to the board, because sometimes just having that smaller group to review the financial statements is a much better area. And most of our districts that we audit do have audit committees, but we do have some where we just present to the board, and they are the ones that approve those statements. And sometimes those meetings are a little bit more difficult for us, just because not everybody is very familiar with the numbers.
Sure.
But I do appreciate the mix that you guys have on your committee, and it has been really good to work with that group. And Dave Osborne, the chair of that committee, has been really great, and he's done a great job for the district.
Thanks.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it is. I think
Okay.
it's just important as we kind of talk about this particular work as well, is for people to understand that we do have a committee in place
Yeah.
of external folks that kind of work with our folks internally to kind of create a better process. And this was put in place after we did get a finding regarding how do we kind of improve the process. So I think it just kind of goes to show that we are really trying to figure out what some of those issues are and how do we kind of coalesce around those and then make some things better for us. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And this came up during the planning meeting, but just for the public's benefit, speak to us on findings. There, any modifications or any recommendations have already been implemented from the previous year's audits, and kind of where are we on that?
In the prior year, we did have a couple findings. All of those were completed and implemented during this fiscal year into June 30th, 2019. This year, we did not have any findings that rose to the level that would be communicated in a letter to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. We did have findings related to the school activity funds, and those do not go in a letter, but they go in a spreadsheet that is a requirement by KDE, and we have to break it down by school and by type of finding.
And the recommendations stemming from those have already been implemented or are being implemented?
Each school is working through a corrective action plan on their findings. And can you comment as to when?
And we actually have a PMOC related to that Manny and John have led me to put together. And basically, my team, who I talked about earlier, they put together a training mechanism. We also have what we call bookkeeper roundtables. We bring all the bookkeepers in and we discuss the previous year's audit, ways to improve that. We look at online training through the Safety Schools module and so forth. Red Book has just been updated also, so we're looking at how we transition to the new Red Book and how we're going to communicate that out to get to the masses. A lot of things that happen in schools comes from not necessarily just the bookkeeper and the principal, but the teachers, and everybody bringing everything, how money's handled, with the boosters and so forth. I appreciate the support we've been getting from the chiefs, being on the academic side, whether it's elementary, middle, and high school. They've been very supportive and making sure that when we report to them what we see, they're following up with their principals and what needs to happen after that.
Thank you.
I just want to say that as a member of this team, the list of names that Rodney went through earlier is a very small portion of the team that work behind the scenes. And some of those folks are here tonight. And if it's okay, I would like to bring them up.
Yes, it is.
And have them recognized,
Yes.
because there are a lot of things that this organization has to go through and a lot of things that we're asking these people to do every day, day in, day out. You see the audit report that's the culmination of 12 months worth of work that is, for the most part, goes unthanked. It's a thankless job, if you will. But they're there and offering the highest level of service that we can possibly add or that we can possibly offer. And I just want to recognize those, because without those people working behind the scenes, Chairman Spires, you probably would not get those kinds of accolades from outside. And it's always good to receive that confirmation from third parties that see that in this group. So if they would come down, I would like to recognize them and personally thank them for the job that they do, the job well done that they do every day, 12 months a year.
I know.
Yeah, if we had medals, we would give you medals, but you can tell.
We're all out. We're all out.
If they find us a few more $1 million, we'll be sure to get them some medals.
The
Or some
printing
discounts.
press has been ordered.
Okay, very good. Keep us posted at the next meeting.
All right, if there are any additional questions regarding the audit. Seeing none, a motion is in order to accept the independent audit report for the Fayette County Public Schools for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019, as presented.
I really butchered this last time, but I'm giving it a shot. I move to accept the independent audit report for the Fayette County Public Schools for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019, as presented.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Daniels, a second by Mrs. Morris. A point of business, just so everyone knows, we have added Ms. Morris to the audit committee going forward. In addition with Mr. Love, we have 2 board members on all of our financial committees. And so are there any further discussion at this time? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all for everything.
Yes, yes.
I think
We got 2 public comments.
I do, but we're not to that yet, are we?
Okay, so
Sorry.
I'll get to it.
My multiple scripts here.
I got it, I think.
All right, so at this time, we will move to the point of the agenda for public comments.
Yeah.
Well, we have a few informational items.
Yes, let me go through that first. Madam Chair, thank you, board members. We have several informational items for the board's review this evening, including the school activity fund report, personnel changes for November, budget transfer report, and position control document. If there are no other questions about any of those items, that will conclude the board agenda for this evening. And we do not have a need to go into closed session. We do.
We do.
We do.
There's several head nods.
Okay.
I like the earlier version better.
Same here, same here.
Getting that out too. All right. So we have reached the point of our meeting where we do have public comment for items that are not on the agenda. And like I said earlier, I'm going to give each of you, this is at the chair's discretion, but I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes since that's what you would have received at the other points. So the first person I'd like to bring up is Gretchen Vaught. And it is on equity update. It's Excellent Student Opportunities Subcommittee recommendation. It's peer support arrangements and peer networks as piloted by HDI at UK. I think I said that all. Do you guys want to do it combined? You can combine it.
Awesome.
You get 10 minutes total.
Wonderful, that's perfect. We misunderstood,
No
I
No
thought
problem.
that might have been what happened, but I wasn't really sure, so.
Okay, perfect. So
you-
good
I'm
evening,
sorry,
good
did you
evening,
say-
Madam Chair, Superintendent, board members. Thank you for having us. My name is Dr. Kim Thompson. I am a member of the Equity Council Committee for Fayette County Schools, and I've also been working on the subcommittee for excellent student outcomes for the past 3 years. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. The women here with me today make up the Excellent Student Outcomes Subcommittee of the Equity Council. In June of 2017, we started discussing programs that could promote a more equitable education experience for students with individualized education plans, 504 plans, English language learners, and historically underperforming student populations, all of which are our focus student groups for this subcommittee. After considering different programs, then focusing our research on the one with the strongest research, we have decided on a recommendation for the leaders of our district to consider. We first presented a recommendation to the Equity Council, and with their enthusiastic support, we are taking the next step in advocating for these programs by presenting to you here this evening. Please refer to slide 5 in the presentation we have printed for you. You should each have a packet of a slide presentation, and there is also a link to a video that you can view later on. No matter which evaluation, so if you can take a look at slide 5, please. Give you all a chance to turn to that. No matter which evaluation tool is used, we consistently see a clear gap in performance between our focus students and other students. For these students, markers start out lower than the student average and decline sharply in middle school. Even though our ESO-focused students are significantly underperforming their peers, they're still graduating at similar rates, which should be alarming. These students are not prepared for post-secondary success in higher education or a career in far too many cases. We know that our district leaders know this as well. So we are excited about coming here in partnership to discuss the efforts being made to improve student performance. We are excited about Family University and co-teaching, but additional staff is expensive, and we also are concerned about the social emotional barriers created by too many adults surrounding a student. In other words, the system designed to support a student's needs may prevent the formation of healthy relationships and the involvement of self-determination skills.
I'm Markanti McCormick, and I'm going to be continuing this. Thank you again, all of you, for allowing us to come and present today. As we sought to learn whether an evidence-based option exists that overcomes these drawbacks, we discovered research by Dr. Eric Carter at Vanderbilt University and Dr. Harold Kleinert at the University of Kentucky, and others like them. Their research had proven that peer-to-peer models show both academic and social improvements for target students, which are those with the most significant disabilities, as well as advantages to other students involved in these dynamics who did not have disabilities. In peer-to-peer learning models, students with disabilities were more academically engaged and made substantially more progress on their social, emotional goals. Students without disabilities who participated either maintained their A and B grades or improved their C, D, and F grades by up to 1.5 letters. Similar research published by the Human Development Institute at UK also demonstrated the strong results. HDI's project was called Peer Support Arrangements and Peer Networks. Peer support arrangements are those when 2 to 3 students without disabilities are paired with a target student in a gen ed classroom and taught with facilitation skills. The students learn the same material together, although the content may be modified for the target students.
Peer Network is an adult-facilitated but not controlled social group that meets weekly. Students' activities and conversations are entirely self-directed. In fact, adults phase out as students' relationships grow stronger. When both peer-to-peer components are implemented, together target students' performance is stronger in academics and social gain. In fact, school reports are more successful transitioning to high school students that have participated in PSN and PNs. These peer dynamics differ from peer tutoring, which is when students without disabilities is assigned to a class and functions in a mini-teacher role. For students with disabilities, there are no collaborations, learning, or social network taking place. PSNs and PNs have been implemented successfully in Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Though by different names, this is why this subcommittee is making recommendation that Fayette County pilots this program on our target students. Students with disabilities share similar barriers as English language learners and at-risk students. And this stronger social and emotional connection and peer dynamics will yield your positive results. Even the state government is backing the program. The Kentucky General Assembly issued a joint resolution resolving that the Kentucky Department of Education would partner with HDI to implement PSAs and PNs in school districts across the state. KDE has set aside funds for this initiative. This effort is now being led locally by the Central Kentucky Educational Co-op, which is fully invested in the success of implementation of schools that choose to take up the programs.
So you guys have copies of the research we shared earlier, as well as the joint resolution by the Kentucky government, state government. In addition, we've put together a video presentation with more information and resources. It's considerably longer than the time we had allotted here, so we decided to put it all together for you. If you want to write this down, and I encourage anyone in the audience also to write down this web path, and I wrote it down, I can give it to you if it's easier. https://vimeo, that's V-I-M like Mary, EO.com/375-286-132. https://vimeo.com/375-286-132. Our formal recommendation is also included in that video, and it's far more expository than what we were able to do this evening. Do we have time to read our recommendation, or are we at?
Yes, you have time, because the point of clarification I want to make that I think has provided some of the confusion, this is a subcommittee of our equity committee, which means, and I think that's what some of the confusion on the card was, this should have been an agenda under the equity, I believe. Am I incorrect?
If it worked its way through as it goes.
It did. I mean, it worked its way through because they've already presented the equity.
Yeah,
and that's why. So I want to just apologize. So I'm going to allow you that time. But in the future, and so I'm also looking at the equity chair, once it's worked its way through, then we can work to put it on. And I understand, I think Daryl told them to be part of the equity report, which is why it is written confusing the way it is. So I apologize. So
well,
yes.
We were confused as well. So we didn't want to come and expect to have more time than
yes.
Than we were allotted. So our formal recommendation, which is also in the video, is the ESO subcommittee recommendation, after more than 2 years of research and discussion, is that a middle school be encouraged by FCPS administration to implement a peer support arrangement and peer network for 3 to 5 students with IEPs and other learning barriers who are rising 6th graders, and that the PSAs and PNs be monitored and maintained throughout the student's middle school career, grades 6 through 8. We request that FCPS administration recommend a school that could benefit from PSAs and PNs for 3 to 5 of its students with IEPs and other learning barriers. Sally Miracle, who is now in charge of the PSAs and PNs through CKEC, has informed us that the schools must request it. However, we believe that the school must be educated on the value and positive impact of the PSAs and PNs, and the research that supports the method, as published by HDI and Dr. Eric Carter of Vanderbilt University. In addition, the school needs to understand that there is no cost and that CKEC is fully invested in the success of the programs. Otherwise, we understand the school will find myriad reasons, such as lack of time, energy, staff, or expertise, or frankly, just having too much to do, too many programs, to resist the recommendation. This is an evidence-based program that has been successfully implemented by HDI in Jefferson County and other central Kentucky districts, as well as several other states, and is currently being implemented by Danville Independent Schools. And if we have time allotted, we'd be happy to take some questions. We've done a lot of research, or we can let everyone go home. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm looking at Ms. Dennis. I'm sure you're familiar. Yes, please. Oh, and Ms. McNally, if you want to. No. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In response to the subcommittee's recommendation, we do have one school that has already committed to pilot the program. This was a project where we need to make sure that the supports are authentic.
Yes.
And that
And
it
front-loaded.
meets the needs of the students that become targeted or that are targeted to receive this support. And so one school has already committed, and we have someone from the district office who is working with that school and with Sally Miracle at Central Kentucky Co-op to get that up and running.
All right. Well, thank you, partner.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions?
May we ask which school?
It's Morton Middle School.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, if it pleases the board, I'd like to go back and address some of the comments that were made earlier. I'm going to ask Dee Dee Massey to come down and share some data and also speak to my response. Yes, I received an email asking to go visit Jefferson County Public Schools to look at Safer Saner, which is the International Institute for Restorative Practices. I sent a response with some preconditions. To date, those preconditions were not met. No response back regarding the questions that I posed. But in the interest of transparency, we will share our data.
So as of October 31st, 25 of 37 elementary schools were down in suspension, 9 of 12 middle schools were down in suspension, and 4 of 6 high schools were down in suspension. Specifically, African American suspensions and 2 or more race suspensions were down from this time last year. For disproportionality, we are at 4.2 across the district, where last year we were at 4.5, which also shows that we are trending down in suspensions for our populations in African American and 2 or more races. We participated in the Safer Saner Schools training module on September.
Can you repeat that again? Because
The data?
audience. No, we participated.
We participated in the Safer Saner
in it.
Schools training module on September 23rd and 24th. We had 37 staff members from across the district, including middle schools, special ed department, the equity team, and the PBIS team. We will participate in another training module with Safer Saner Schools, specifically on restorative practices, on January 30th and 31st. The way the training module rolls out, you do the first 4 sessions with them, and then they come back to do the trainer training. So we're following their guidelines for the restorative practice training through the Safer Saner Schools using International Institute of Restorative Practices.
Yes, and in 2016-17, African American students were 4.5 times more likely to be suspended than their white peers. 18-19, that disparity fell to 2.6 times, more than 2.5 times. So the reason why I did not attend Jefferson County, because you cherry-picked the school. If I want to go see a school, I want to go see a school that actually is using a practice to improve, not a school that does not reflect the demography of the district in question. Now, if you want to talk about Jefferson County, I'm looking at a system. Seth. So as I'm out in the community, go to the next slide. I'm having conversations because this is Thanksgiving with folks here about what my plans are. This is my neighborhood where I'm from. We had to cancel the turkey truck giveaway because of the violence in that neighborhood. Continue. This is what people are talking about across the country right now. 46 weeks this year, there have been 45 school shootings. That's not what you're talking about. This is a national conversation as what's going on across the country as violence continues to impact not only our schools, but our communities as well, continue to be ravaged by that. Go ahead. There's a video. You want to talk about Jefferson County and going to look at the schools, here's a video from News Reporter.
peeling back the curtain on JCPS, getting a look at the numbers ourselves. It's all part of our latest troubleshooter investigation that shows just how many reports of handguns we are talking about. Thanks for watching Wave 3 News at 5:30. I'm Connie Leonard.
I'm John Bowl, Wave 3 News troubleshooter Natalia Martinez found some information that surprised even the sheriff's office.
And it also may surprise you. For example, so much of this has been because of budgets. But what if I told you corrections officers were recently offered $240 a day to take work in schools? And what if I told you the sheriff's office had offered to keep their deputies in schools for free? A lot of information in the story you're about to see. Violence in schools from Iroquois principal attacked twice in 2 weeks. To this teacher at Seneca, bashed in the head with a glass beaker. And report after report of guns. All of this prompting us to find out what's really going on in our children's classrooms from those who've lived it themselves.
They had my hair, they had my clothes.
Sharita Bransford,
I was slammed into lockers and walls.
Was a guidance counselor at Jeffersontown High School, attacked while trying to stop a fight between two female students.
I could do nothing, and I just kept wondering, when is somebody gonna come and help me?
Tamara Collins was one of the last people the gunman talked to before shooting another student at Fern Creek in 2014.
I guess I was naive. You never think it would happen to you.
Both women say the violence is real, but just how bad is something we set out to uncover. I filed a series of open records requests, finally obtaining this report showing more than 600 security investigations so far this school year. 81 for students out of control, 21 calls about assaults, and 16 for drugs or narcotics investigations. And when it came to guns, we had to ask and ask again. That's because in this email from JCPS Open Records, they told us JCPS Security has only seized one handgun this year.
2 guns have been found at...
But our own reporting proved otherwise. A different JCPS spokesperson later confirmed that, in fact, 3 firearms had been found on school grounds before the one at Ballard. But that's not even the big picture. This other JCPS list showed a total of 15 reports of handguns related to schools, like described in this citation we got from a source. A student brought a gun to Doss High School and then went home. When the sheriff's office went to the kid's house, they not only found the gun, but also ammo. That citation not included in that JCPS email, since the gun was brought to school but not seized on school grounds.
We kind of built this narrative that says Jefferson County Public Schools are out of control. That's not necessarily true.
School board member Corey Scholl says it's cell phone videos and social media that paints a more dramatic picture, not the data. But the number of assaults reported to the state went up since 2017, as did the number of weapons, from 88 events to 220 the last school year. The concern currently heightened after the JCPS school board decided to end the contracts for school resource officers.
We're gonna have fights, SROs or no SROs.
Scholl says the data does show that minority students are the ones adversely affected by SROs in schools, criminalizing children unnecessarily. That's something that the former head of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office SRO program, Vernon Brown, said isn't fair.
Our last resort is to arrest the kid. In some cases, we have to step in on that. But we have so many other resources.
Another reason some board members said they didn't want to see schools turned into prisons. So imagine our surprise when we obtained a copy of this recent email sent to all Metro Corrections, asking jail corrections officers to take off-duty jobs at a number of JCPS schools.
We've got to get people to fill these jobs, but when people who have served as corrections officers pick up extra hours in JCPS, they are accountable to JCPS.
Those extra hours, at a cost of $240 a day, we discovered. That stunned this SRO, since the sheriff's office offered to keep their deputies in schools for free till the end of the year. Schultz said he didn't know that, but it doesn't really matter.
Had you been aware of that, would you have welcomed those SROs to have stayed in schools until the end of the year?
No, it is about accountability. It's about accountability.
Schultz says he's been disappointed with SROs, and his vote was to make those SROs answer to them, not a chief or a sheriff.
Are you being aggressive with the student? Does that escalate? And if it escalates, that's not what we're after.
Brown says they have positive relationships with students, serving as mentors, friends, and protectors.
To take that away, I think that's a threat, not just to staff members, but also to the students in that school.
Both these women say it's the SROs who saved them.
If it was not for Officer Mattingly, I don't know what would have happened, because no one else came to help.
He's the one that smelled the gunpowder going up the stairwell the day of the shooting. And he's the one that locked that school down so quickly. What happens? Do we have to wait till someone gets killed for things to change? We're not expendable. You can't put a price on those kind of things.
So a couple of things. State law requires there be security at schools, and the JCPS security force is to be fully implemented by this February. In the meantime, I also found out that some schools are paying for their own SROs out of their own budgets. At Iroquois, the principal there asked for help, so the sheriff's department is providing them with 2 deputies for free.
So did JCPS ever talk to the Sheriff's Department about their SRO program?
No, the Sheriff's Department actually found out that they were discontinuing the contract through the news. The JCPS board members have never had a conversation with the Sheriff's Department, they told us, to find out what kind of training their deputies receive. And by the way, that training has been nationally recognized as one of the top SRO trainings in the country.
All right, a lot of layers to that story. You covered a lot of ground there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Natalia.
All right, and that was 2 weeks ago. So let's go to last week, because this is the district you want to compare us to. And I don't compare Fayette County to other systems in terms of what they're doing. We seek to learn from other systems. But if you want to identify a school in a system, I want to see the school that actually looks like the demography of that system that has improved. You can cue up the next one, Seth.
And here tonight at 11 o'clock, a 16-year-old is under arrest after a fight breaks out with a teacher at Iroquois High School. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt. This student is charged with third-degree assault tonight, and all of this was captured on video. Jessie Cohen's been following the story today. She's live from outside the high school. And Jessie, you talked to the Jefferson County Teachers Union tonight. What do they say about this violence in the classroom?
And that's the teachers union.
I did, Doug, and the treasurer of the group says it isn't easy to hear about what happened just behind these doors of Iroquois High School just yesterday. It was only a few hours ago that law enforcement showed up to this high school to arrest that 16-year-old boy. And tonight, one man with JCTA tells me that this could be the effect of not having SROs in the buildings any longer.
This fight has gone viral on social media, showing a male student and a female teacher throwing punches and using graphic language.
And, you know, it's heartbreaking to hear that a teacher was put in a position where she felt like she had to defend herself.
With the 16-year-old now facing serious charges, Andrew Bailey, the treasurer of the Jefferson County Teachers Association, tells us no teacher should have to protect themselves like that.
We don't want anybody in our buildings to be unsafe at any point in time.
This fight is the third incident at Iroquois High School in just 3 weeks. Just 2 weeks after the principal was assaulted while trying to break up a fight between 6 students. All of this happening at the start of the first school year without SROs.
We don't have that one figure in the building making us feel safe anymore.
Bailey says the district has their priorities straight.
One thing, JCPS has made it very clear that their #1 priority for students is safety.
But he explains there is more that needs to be done.
I think that JCPS adding the mental health professionals into all of our buildings is a good step in the right direction, but it's obviously not enough if we have fights breaking out in our classrooms or in our hallways that no one can control.
When it comes to constant outbreaks like these,
Obviously, a lot of kids come with trauma from outside of school, or they actually have issues that arise in school, which causes outbursts in behavior.
Bailey says it won't change without more help and resources for safety inside the buildings.
And not having SROs available to deal with that situation really puts everybody in the building at risk.
Now, I spoke to Lieutenant Colonel Carl Yates with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office earlier today, and he told me that this all started because the teacher asked the student to put his cell phone away. And although she isn't being charged, she didn't show up to school and walk through those doors just earlier today. Reporting live outside of Iroquois High School, I'm Jesse Cohen, 11 at 11.
So you can go to the next slide, please. All right. So this is a survey, because I'm sure you did your research in June 2019. Survey of teachers are conflicted about the role of suspensions. In a nutshell, the survey found that the majority of black teachers, and they over-surveyed black teachers, do think that exclusionary discipline is racially biased, but about half the black teachers surveyed said that suspension should be used more often. These teachers are conflicted about the bias that leads to exclusionary discipline and to the need to use exclusionary discipline more often. So there's a lot of conflict in terms of whether it's restorative practice and the model you use, PBIS, et cetera. We want children in school. We also want to make sure children are held accountable or responsible for their actions. So there's a balance, especially for black teachers who see themselves in our children. Go to the next slide, please. All right, so I'm sure you also did the RAND study and looked at restorative practice. What you would have found is they looked at a district. In the district, they found that the arrest of students did not decrease, and they did not see a closing the achievement gap. They also found that the first study identified no difference between the schools that were implementing restorative practice and those that were not. And this is through a system, an entire district effort. It's no easy effort to implement this work. And we're committed to doing this work, and that's the work we have been doing. We don't compare ourselves to other districts. We go about comparing ourselves to Fayette County and looking to be better each and every day as we serve our children. But here's what's top of mind. As I move around the community, everywhere from barbershops to supermarkets, to Target yesterday, throughout our community, this is what folks are talking about, the violence in the city. Some of you are pastors. If you do a 3-mile radius around your church, you would find some violence. You would find children living in some deplorable conditions, living in conditions with hopelessness, with fear, in neighborhoods that are not safe. I'm all about building up the community. I'm all about making sure that our children are safe, not just at school, but in their neighborhoods and in their homes. And that's the work we're looking to build. Thank you. That's it. Time for a closed session.
I would just like to add another comment as well. I want to thank Build for coming out here tonight. And I want to thank you for your involvement this past year. It's been tough. I mean, I think all of us in this room can say it's been tough. I've been a member of Second Presbyterian for 20 years. I have been involved with Build since it began, and this has been a really challenging year. I spoke to members of Second Presbyterian Church ahead of the Nehemiah Action Committee this year, and I spoke about what we were doing as a district and how we were in the third year of a plan to decrease disproportional suspensions and punishments, and how we weren't where we needed to be yet, but we were headed in the right direction. And I commend my fellow parishioners who said, whoa, you need to talk to Build, because Build doesn't have this information. And so I tried, and eventually I was able to get a meeting with you all. And, you know, it's just been a tough year. I know that at times you all have felt ignored, and at times I felt ignored because I've tried to provide this data and we continue to have these meetings. I was told that I would have an opportunity to speak on this issue at the Nehemiah Action Committee, and I was not given that opportunity to speak in that meeting. I have had to defend my family. As those of you who know, my children are not white. And I have been attacked on social media. I have had to defend the superintendent on social media. Even as I sit in here tonight, there are statements being made on social media that Fayette County doesn't care about kids. This is tough. And if you want to talk about racial issues, you have to be able to have courageous conversations. And that is all I have asked to build for this last year. I have asked you to put your boots on and get on the front lines with us. I have asked you to join our Give 10, where you give 10 hours a month. I have asked you to join Real Men Read, or our Real Read program, where you read to a school each month. I have invited you into our classrooms to come see the work that we're doing at Leestown and Mill Creek with restorative practices. I have attended almost everything you all had with the exception of the November 4th meeting. I went to Jefferson County with you. I observed 3 classrooms where, as an educator, I saw more students off task than engaged in the activity. I saw a district personnel who incorrectly used I feel statements every single time. An I feel statement is when you express your feelings. If I am scared of the dark, I would say, I feel upset when you turn the lights off. What it is not meant to be is an accusatory statement. I feel upset when you turn the lights off. Every single time I watched an educator that day use an I feel statement, they used an accusatory statement. I appreciate that you all did work with us to change the school. The initial school that you all had selected was a school where students enter in through a selection process, so they have significant parental involvement. And the school that we did go to is a school that does not have parental involvement. They don't even have a PTA. So I appreciate that effort, and I appreciate you all being here tonight and you all continuing to have this conversation. And I'm not trying to be adversarial. I'm trying to invite you along. I need you. I need the 2,000 people that were at that meeting that night to volunteer in our schools and in our classrooms. We have 43,000 students. Our students speak over 150 languages. Our biggest population is students in poverty. It's 54% and growing. Our neighborhoods, I have woken up more mornings this last week with a notification that a student in our district was either killed or involved in an act of violence. I don't want to wake up that way every day. And I need you all on the front lines with us. So I hope that as we move forward and as we continue, we're not there yet. We're going to get there, and we're going to get there with the community's support. We're going to get there with community involvement in our neighborhoods, and we're going to get there when we work together. So I hope that you will join me on the front lines. At this time, I will make a motion pursuant to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8101B to discuss acquisition of sale or real property, KRS 61.8101C to discuss proposed or pending litigation, and pursuant to KRS 61.8101F to discuss personnel.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Love, a second by Mr. Daniels. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We are in closed session.